Assalamualaikum and greetings to all. We are from Group 5 and we'll be presenting on Industry 4.0 and its impact on the audit profession. Before we begin, let me first introduce to our group members. First of all, we have Muhammad Ali, and then me myself, Muhammad AQIL, and lastly Muhammad SAIFUL. Okay, now let me walk everyone through with the content of our presentation. We will start off with the introduction, and then we will discuss on how the IR 4.0 can affect the audit profession. After that, we will also see what are the roles of the auditors in overcoming the issues in relation to IR 4.0. And next is the future of IR 4.0 in the audit profession, and lastly the conclusion for our presentation. So for the first part is the overview of IR 4.0. So what is IR 4.0? The term IR 4.0 or the fourth industrial revolution are used interchangeably, but as for now there is no definite definition on what IR 4.0 is all about, but both conveys the same concept, which is the emergence of a new era of automation that will change the way people interact with engineered systems, as there is an integration of Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, and many more. Initially, it was developed for the manufacturing industry in following suit from the first industrial revolution up until the fourth industrial revolution. It was first introduced by the German government at Hanover Fair back in 2011. It was also said that the usage of automation and real-time data can significantly help in the creation of a fully digital value chain that can meet more demand from the customers. With that being said, other industries and professionals that includes the audit professions will also have to adapt this, as it will alter the financial reporting environment. It can also be seen that the changes will actually make a major shift in industrial capitalism and also improve its efficiency. Okay, so moving on to the next part is the evolution of auditing. It can be observed that from the first to the fourth industrial revolutions, it is clear that the auditing profession has developed as well. This is mostly due to developments in the business world. All the other professions will be affected as the business landscape changes, and this will transform the way things are done. As audit has several stages from audit 1.0 to audit 4.0, it is apparent that the audit profession is carefully monitoring the developments. Okay, so in the first stage, which is audit 1.0, is where the traditional auditing equipment such as pencils and calculators were used by the audit professions in the 18th century. There was no standards or frameworks that was being used at that time. There was also no set of credentials for auditors. The scope of auditing was chosen at the discretion of the auditors, and mostly their task was focused on fraud detections. At that time, their aim was to defend and also be self-sufficient in various ways. Next is IR 2.0. It began in the late 19th century and also in the early 20th century. It can be seen that in audit 2.0, we can see that audit profession is following closely to the changes in the environment, as they have been slowly adapting and using IT audit tools such as Lotus 123, which is something more similar like Excel. This is actually a result from the mass manufacturing and also industrialization. As output from the mass production rose, so did the auditing effort. It can be clearly seen that technology was required to ensure auditing work can be performed well. And then not long after that, the third industrial revolution began. So did audit 3.0. It was where partial automation, which consists of a hybrid of traditional and also modern technology, were being used together. And in this phase, the audit profession has also started to include the usage of big data and analytic tool. It was mostly used for internal auditing to tackle the challenges and also risks that involves technologies, innovations, and disruptions in the organizations that will meet the needs of the stakeholders. Although the evolution that arose in Audit 3.0 was mainly focusing on the internal audit functions, its main purpose still stays the same, which is to assure, advise, and also to anticipate. With the help of technology, the auditors can perform their task better in meeting the needs of the stakeholders. And lastly, in the 21st century, where the fourth industrial revolution emerges, considerable changes can be seen as there are new technical improvements such as automated repetitive data processing, real-time data, and audited-related data are merged with the actual environment in the profession. The audit profession must also learn to adapt to new developments, as this can help them in providing simplified judgments, real-time data, and also time saving. Not only that, it can also help to create value to clients, as it allows them to be more efficient and productive in their work, as they are able to produce accurate data in a timely manner. Despite there are claims on how auditors will be replaced by AI and robots, auditors will continue to be needed by the industry, as they are the only one that can perform professional skepticism, as they can evaluate and analyze data created by the technologies. I guess that's all for now. I shall now pass the presentation to AQIL.
Thank you so much, KHAMILLIA, for explaining the introduction and also the evolution of audit throughout the industrial revolutions. Now, as we all know, following Industry Revolution 4.0, businesses shift their operations to implement more technology, and with that, this affects the audit as well, the audit profession as well. And now we will discuss the effect of Industry 4.0 in audit in three perspectives. First will be the auditors themselves, second, the audit firms, and third, others, which consists of the public stakeholders and the policymakers. Now, moving on to the impacts of the Industry Revolution 4.0 to the auditors. In essence, the auditors' tasks still remain the same, where they need to provide assurance to their clients. However, with the existence and implementation of the technology following the IR 4.0, the amount of data has been increased by a lot, tremendously increased. So with that, the auditors will need to be more vigilant on the data when examining them. For example, they need to decide whether the data is too good to be true, whether it is correctly sanitized, or whether the outliers need any attention. So with that, auditors will still need to apply their professional skepticism, but in a wider scale, because the data available collected from the technology is much more compared to the traditional audit. Moving on to the next point, so the auditors will need to possess a lot more skills compared to the auditors before this. This is because following the Industrial Revolution 4.0, the auditors are now able to access much more data, as mentioned just now, but this data is much more confidential. That is why the auditors will need extra skill set to be more cognizant towards cybersecurity and cyber risks and cyber threats, in order for them to be able to examine this data without falling victim to any of the cyber intruders and serve as an entry point to them. Now, let's move on to the second part of the impact, which is towards the audit firms. The audit firms are also impacted just as well, and how the auditors are impacted individually. So as for the audit firms, in terms of hiring, they will need to start recruiting more employees with different backgrounds, diverse skills and experience to satisfy the complex needs of the organizations and their clients after the implementation of the technology following the Industry Revolution 4.0. In the future, it is probable that the audit firms will have a smaller percentage of accounting graduates, as another skill set will be more in demand, such as strong analytical skills and coding. In addition, the firms themselves will need to re-evaluate the firm's leadership model to include diversity, teamwork, and collaboration, while still encouraging the innovation and growth. This is because the implementation of technology facilitates more collaborations. Furthermore, the leadership in the audit firms must be interdisciplinary and ready to invest in a colossal amount of effort in order to get things right and to ensure the highest level of quality possible for their service. Now, let us move on to the impacts of the Industrial Revolution 4.0 towards the policymakers and the public stakeholders. So of course, the stakeholders actually have a different perspective and expectation on the audit profession, and this expectation will change over time, and the public policies also will change and will affect the auditors and the industry following the Industry Revolution 4.0. On the topic of policies, the standard setters will need to keep pace to facilitate the new and improved business environment. These standard setters will need to analyze the current standards, whether they are still relevant, fit the new business models, and whether the new standards are required and need to be adopted to the country in a timely manner. And of course, following the Industrial Revolution 4.0, new standards are also emerging. For example, the Crowd Security Alliance, which is a new organization, has provided several tools and guidance such as the Cloud Control Matrix, CCM, for the auditors to perform cloud audits. With that in mind, the Malaysian standard setters will need to evaluate whether they need to adapt the CCM to fit the situation in Malaysia as a new guideline, or are they able to refer and use the CCM without any adjustments, and thus recommending and promoting it to the cloud auditors in Malaysia. Moreover, in Malaysia, we have the Audit Oversight Board, which is actively discussing to respond to the regulatory needs of the auditing profession. Next, it is also worth noting the universities and the profession will need to collaborate to equip the youth with relevant skill sets for a high quality workforce in the future. Now, that is all from me. Thank you so much, and let us proceed to the next part of the presentation for the roles of the auditors in overcoming the issues related to Industry Revolution 4.0. With that, I would like to pass this presentation to my friend Mohammad Ali.
Thank you so much, AQIL. Now I will be presenting on the part of roles of auditors in overcoming issues related to Industry Revolution 4.0. The emergence of Industry Revolution 4.0 opened up dozens of new potential opportunities in a wide range of fields. Aside from that, the auditors particularly are relieved from trivial details and can concentrate on the larger pictures. The Industry Revolution 4.0 will lead to a new way of thinking to which auditor and auditing profession must adapt. Auditors or accountants in general should be preparing for the new era of modernization that is approaching. An auditor should increase the awareness of the development within Industry Revolution 4.0 and take opportunities that arise in the industry. This is because the business are still in the early stage of comprehending the potential development that this revolution may bring. While it may be simpler to create awareness for practitioners in the private or public sector, professional bodies will most certainly feel the greater pressure to continue developing professional programs. The auditor must accept that in the Industry Revolution 4.0 setting, they will have less control over the accounting information than in the past. The role of auditor or accountants in general is set to change drastically, with a focus on providing consultancy and advisory reports to the audit engagement clients. To stay relevant in the industry within Industry Revolution 4.0 environment, one of the important skills that an auditor should acquire is the ability to understand digital technologies. Being digitally savvy helps in increasing audit engagement efficiency, improving client communication, saving time, and improving audit quality. The auditors will have to participate in various training programs as part of digitally upskilling in oneself. The auditor can be part of the digital accelerators after completing a variety of training programs. When humans are combined with the correct technology, they can develop a more innovative attitude that will help them to achieve their goals. As the audit profession evolves, an auditor must devote more time to engagement while also attempting to incorporate greater technology development in the audit profession. The use of technology as part of the digital accelerator allows for the automation of audit procedures that formerly required hours of digging through information containing hundreds of documents. Auditing standards are rarely mentioned when it comes to audit reform. The audit procedure is based on auditing standards and influence audit behavior. As a result, audit behavior has an impact on audit quality, either directly or indirectly. This is especially apparent when standard setters fail to address the issues or attempt to approach them incorrectly. It is critical for the professional bodies to be clear in their approach. The approach represents the difference in opinion and a clear indication that the relationship between auditing standards and audit quality requires more attention of the users involved in preparation of auditing standards. The accounting and auditing profession is facing major changes in the current business. In response, the professional organizations, their members, and educational institutions should be able to follow through with the changes happening in the profession itself. For those who are still new to the field, professional bodies might initiate by exerting pressure on educational institutions to develop modules appropriate for graduates who will require to deal with the new digital era. This can be accomplished by increasing investment in technological development in order to get more practical experience while learning about the potential effects of industry revolution and how to address any challenges that may arise. Professional bodies can assist in providing more appropriate courses for graduates by collaborating with educational institutions. This comprise of the management of information on shared systems and determining the real-time accounting requirements of various stakeholders. Now, let us dive deeper into the future of Industrial Revolution 4.0 in audit profession that will be discussed by Mohammad Saiful.
Okay, my name is Mohammad by ABDUL Karim. So I present the future of Industry Revolution 4.0 in audit profession. Let's go. The opportunity of Industry Revolution from 4.0 toward the audit profession is lighten the burden of the auditor works from the traditional ways. The auditor did not have to do vouching anymore because nowadays most of the company using automated generated document to record their transaction. And the auditor can just retrieve the data they want from the automated system to do their assessment. The auditor did not have to find through the bundles of paperwork to verify the transaction. Next, the auditor will have more time to focus for the assessment of the condition of the client firm and the firm going concern with the help of the current technology. The current technology makes the analysis to become more easier, save time and cost. Thus, the auditor will have more time to assess more area of the firm. The current technology also provides a real-time data that makes the assessment more valuable and relevant with the current situation. Lastly, the assessment made not only based on the sample taken by the auditor, but the whole population, because more data are available for the auditors to assess with the help of current technology such as big data, artificial intelligence, AI, and etc. The larger amount of evidence able the auditor to create more valuable opinion of the current position since more area had been assessed by the auditor. Next, we look what is the challenges faced by the audit profession in the Industry Revolution 4.0. First, some auditors might lose their value if they are not master the skill of the current technology. The practical work such as vouching will be the history in audit profession because the practical works are replaced with the current technology. The auditor who has mastered the skill to use the current technology will focus more to analyze the condition of the firm. Next, whether the auditor will be able to adapt and keep pace with the rapid changes in the technology that keep evolving. There might be no key person who has the capabilities to teach the auditor on how to use the technology. Besides, the audit firm will incur higher costs to keep update with the current technology for the auditor to use in their works. It will be more costly for the smaller audit firm to use the current technology in providing their service. Lastly, the auditor are concerned with the security of the new technology. Although some technology have proven their security, there is no reasonable level or specific tool to measure whether the technology are secure enough to be used. The potential problems such as data leak and cyber theft that could happen in the future are the major concern among the auditors because it is the auditor's responsibility to keep their client information in private and confidential. I guess that's all from me. Thank you.
Finally, we have come to the end of our presentation. In conclusion, it is undeniable that the audit profession is also impacted by the fourth industrial revolution. It is important to note that the practitioners in this profession will always need to upskill and increase their knowledge in relation to technology, as it is an important key aspect for them to make analysis and judgments. It can also be seen that the emergence of technologies will help reduce the workloads of auditors and help to generate real-time data. They are also able to save a lot of time from this. And it was also discussed in the presentation that IR 4.0 has impacted not only the people but also organizations, policymakers, and also the public stakeholders. It can also be highlighted that regardless of how advanced technology may become, it will never take over the job of the auditors, as only human beings can practice professional skepticism. From this, we can conclude that the auditing landscape will definitely change and it offers us more and new opportunities. But that also means that it opens up the same amount of challenges. Hence, it can be seen that IR 4.0 does have its fair share of impact not only to the industry but also to the audit profession.